Fear is a liar. That is the current cover art on my personal Facebook page, and it is an absolute truth. Fear is a liar. What else fear is one of the most powerful motivating forces in human psychology. It clips only and only partially if and when by love or hate. We could dicker around about the opposite of hate not being love and love not being hate and the opposite of love being indifference, but we're not going to waste a lot of time with that. Fear is a liar, but it is a powerful motivator. In fact, you can't turn on a single media outlet without this being the overwhelming sentiment. I'll wait for you guys to stop giggling at the image of Beaker and doing your own little sound effects. You guys who are of my age group and grew up on Muppets. Now we're being led by them. They are elected officials. And so far, a couple of them do bear a slight resemblance to some of the more well-known Jim Henson creations, but we're not here to talk about that. Let's get back to fear is a liar. What is the fear this week? Well, pistol braces. That's right. You see that wrist stabilizer right there? You see that thing that looks like a short-barreled rifle certainly isn't a short-barreled rifle. It is a pistol, and that thing that looks like a shoulder stock for a short-barreled rifle certainly isn't a shoulder stock for a short-barreled rifle. It is a wrist stabilizer. Now, people had questions. If I put this thing up to if I put this thing on my gun, will it make it a short-barreled rifle? And the ATF said no. And then we asked, if we put one of these on our rifle and we put it up to our shoulder like it was a short-barreled rifle, would it be then a short-barreled rifle and in violation of the law? And the ATF said no. This week, oopsie, we changed our minds over at the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms, and now millions of people who have this style or this style wrist stabilizer on their pistols now have 120 days to comply and put themselves on a federal registry if they don't wish to become felons in accordance with federal law. Only problem with that is it's not actually a law. It's a dictate by an agency that doesn't have the power to enforce it. We're going to get into that more, but let's get back to the fear. What else do we have to be afraid of? Fear, fear, fear. Did you guys ever see the Geraldo interview with Charles Manson? Brilliant piece from Mr. Manson, may he rest in peace. Yeah, you got to sell that fear, don't you, Jerry? Got to sell that fear. And this week, well, you got to be afraid of gas stoves. That's right, the emissions from gas stoves. And keep in mind, it's only the benevolence of the government that makes them want to ban these things. They're in it for the children, don't you see? It's got nothing to do with getting everyone on an easily shut down national control grid with smart meters and such like that. Now, we don't need to go down the tinfoil hat route. I mean, they'll continue to engage in that sort of excuse making for us, and after they announced that they were going to ban gas stoves, immediately the media went into gear and backpedaled on it. You might say it was an example of gaslighting. Anyway, they've already admitted where they're going to this, and it's not just on this one. Biden, at the beginning of his administration, if you guys remember when I posted this meme, he planned to use private firms to spy on extremists and bypass restrictions on how far the FBI can go in spying on U.S. citizens. He has clearly announced it, and the complicit media facilitates it. They have no standards but double standards. If it were not for double standards, they would have no standards at all. Example number one, these top secret documents on the floor of Mar-a-Lago. Now, of course, we were told that they were everything from nuclear codes to, sensitive information, yada, 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 conveniently leaving out the fact that as President Trump had the ability and inclination to declassify every single one of these documents that are scattered out on the floor for the theatrics of the media. Imagine their shock and dismay when this week, that's right, the cadaver-in-chief himself, that corpse walking around the Oval Office, it's found that he had documents on him. And immediately the media went into what about mode. What about Mar-a-Lago? What about this? What about this false comparison? What about that false comparison? Now, we're going to get into that more later. But the importance of everything is the narrative control. We go over that every single week here. We have discussed it ad infinitum. Orwell, you knew it was coming. Power is in tearing human minds to pieces and putting them together again in new shapes of your own choosing. How would one go about doing that in a modern day and age? They would do it through a mainstream media, but the mainstream media is now no longer the control mechanism that it once was. That's right, legacy media is dying. So we've got to turn to the internet. More and more people are turning to the internet for their news. So who do we have to use to control that? It's got to be big tech firms. The Twitter files, which we will go into at length later on in the program, revealed, well, what all of us essentially already knew, and were called tinfoil hat for mentioning it. Now, once upon a time, the left lamented corporate power, but now that the establishment backs every leftist cause, well, corporate power is a good thing. What are they always calling us? Starts with an F, has a funny little symbol that everybody's reminded of. Oh yeah, that would be fascism. What did this guy have to say about fascism? Well, it's Benito Mussolini. He would know a thing or two about fascism. Fascism should rightly be called corporatism, as it is the merger of corporate and government power. Now, once upon a time, this was a favorite quote of the left because big business and corporations were the terrible enemy. Now that big business and corporations are towing the line and, in fact, furthering their agenda, they just can't get enough of it, all the while calling us fascists. Now, I could dick around about the semantics of fascism versus communism and whether it is truly fascism by Mussolini's definition, because it's not a far right extremist authoritarian government that's controlling it, but in fact a far left authoritarian government. This is the kind of mental masturbation that is best left to college professors. What I will say is this, and getting back to Mr. Blair, no one seizes power with the intention of relinquishing it. Now, this is not in and of itself a bad thing. There have been such things, exceedingly rare, mind you, throughout the course of human history, as benevolent dictators, people who held sway by divine right, by royal descent, whatever, over their subjects, and used it for the good of their people. It's not without historical precedent. However, I would be lying to you if I said that it was the rule and not the very, very rare exception. No, the rule is guys like Bill Gates, Fauci, Jack Dorsey before Elon Musk took over, all of the heads of the big tech firms, the chemical companies, entertainment, media. This is basically the rule. Eugenico, building a better world without you. Fortunately, the internet, the parts that they don't control, still give us a certain measure of communicative ability. That's right. Ordinary folks like me. I mean, check me out. Fat, toothless, crippled crane operator with some opinions. I can literally put this program out in front of the entire fucking world. You guys can pick it up and share it with your friends. It's an idea. And we live in a day and age where ideas cannot be stopped. They can be stepped on, they can be minimized, they can be marginalized, but they cannot be stopped. And that is why I keep coming back to the inevitable and final truth that in the end, we win. We stay on message, whether it's vaccine mandates or civil asset forfeitures or the war on drugs or the war on terror or occupational licensing or gun control laws or property taxes or liens or the abuse of the Department of Justice. We are not government property. The only thing we have to stay on point with and stay on message with is to continue to remind each other, because you know as well as I do that the establishment is never going to let us know on their own fucking volition. Stay awake. Speak. Never stop speaking. Take care of yourselves. Take care of each other. We're going to win this thing. The opinions expressed by the Reverend are his own and nobody else's on the planet. Not friends, not foes, not supporters, not detractors, not sponsors, and I cannot stress this enough, certainly not employers. Did I mention that I couldn't stress that enough? They have been adjudicated thought crime in all jurisdictions. Consider yourself warned. They are coming from the heart. They are guided by the mind. They are guaranteed to choke you with a big fat dose of throbbing, oozing, swollen, turgid, thorny, flesh-ripping truth talk. Choke on it! That's probably the caffeine talking. In any case, boys and girls, welcome back. It is time once again for the Sunday sermon. I really got to ease up on the truth cock thing, man. It's just like every fucking week that shit just gets more complex. Let's keep it simple, people. Who's in? Everybody in for the drum roll. Come on. I am in an outstanding fucking mood this evening, boys and girls. I've really got no good substantiable reason to be, but yet I find myself smiling in the face of imminent collapse. We come out of the starting gate, as we always do, with our ever-popular bumper music, Red Desert! Little gut-stomping rock and roll band from the smoldering ruins and rubble of the once great city of Minneapolis, Minnesota. The name of the band is Red Desert. The name of the track is Older, No Wiser. Every week I get a little bit older. Every week you guys get to decide if I've gotten any wiser. Some weeks I do better than others. We'll see how this one turns out. I'm going to go ahead and do a quick roll call real quick, see who all is on board. Here we go. Ah, yes. The original Sinner Sister herself, Miss Emmy. Happy birthday. And we're just going to go ahead and call it for the whole week because, Emmy, you're fucking awesome. So happy birthday week to you, which reminds me, I got to kick back over here to my mailbox real quick and pull up that article that you sent me. That is definitely getting mentioned over the course of this sermon. All right, man, mighty Bill Wade on board. I appreciate your support, brother. Thank you very much for being here. We have Carrie and no doubt Roman hiding. Roman is probably lurking in the shadows somewhere. I can't see him, but anyway. Carrie and Roman from opiumtales.com. They are on board early as always. Appreciate y'all being here. Brother Joel, hey man, always good to see you, brother. Out there in the Midwest trying not to freeze to death. Brother Mike, the mighty Stone. Yes, you are, brother. You are early. Or maybe I'm running a little bit late. Don't get ahead of yourself there, buddy. By the way, man, I've been looking at your posts on your archery skills. Very fucking respectable, man. And that little trip up to Minnesota, fuck, man, you should have dropped in on the bumper music guys, man. See if you would have given me some heads up. I could have seen if Red Desert was playing up there, man. You could have just walked in and given them the lowdown. But anyway, Mike, I'm glad that you're here. There's Roman hiding out there in the background. Let's see who else is on board. Of course, there we go, Mr. Wright. Good to see you, brother. Always happy when you show up for the weekend. My LEO brethren, my Spear System brethren, Brother James Pearson, the Chief. And you will address him thusly. That is the Chief to you, boys and girls. I'm glad you're here, brother. Glad you're here. We got a lot of interesting stuff to get into, man. Some good, some bad. Again, we are taking a different direction with it. A little more upbeat, not going for so much of the black-pilled stuff. Is the world fucked up? Yes, and it will continue to be fucked up. The world will continue to be fucked up. Your world only has to be as fucked up as you let it. Cleave to the Stoics, man. These things around you, they only have as much energy as you accord them. You understand that? I'm going to go ahead and get the jump on Roman because I know, Brother Wayne Sharp, man. We go all the way back to high school together, man. Appreciate you being here, brother. Say hello to your brother as well, Mr. Larry. I hadn't seen him around in a while. Hope everything is okay on that front. Roman, I'm going to get the jump on you real quick. I'm going to go ahead and ask these people to give it a like if you're watching on YouTube, no matter what format you're watching on. Give it a like and a boost and a share and a repost. It kind of bumps us up in the algorithm. Algorithm, that's my college word. I got like 3 of those. It bumps us up in the algorithm and makes the message accessible to more people because for whatever reason, those algorithms are geared the way they are. It's like, a lot of people are interested in this. And then they find out it's a conservative-leaning commentary, conservative-leaning commentator, and all of a sudden the algorithm works exactly the opposite. But let's give it that boost right out of the starting gate. Let's see what we can get out of it. I'm going to go ahead and fade this thing down, man. We're going to fade the bumper music out. We're going to jump right on into this thing. Once again, man, happy birthday to Miss Emmy, the original Sinner Sister herself, man. Getting ready for that birthday week. if only we could have coordinated it to where Sabaton was playing a gig, somewhere local around Houston, like right for the birthday, or if we could have coordinated airfare to like fly you somewhere interesting to one of those destination cities where I keep looking at it. It's tough in the line of work that I'm in because I want to get out and see a lot of these doom metal bands that I've gotten into that basically have an online following. You know what I mean? They play shows, but like you really, if I want to go see Dope Lord, or Kal El, or like Morgan Thus, I can go to the Midwest. Any of the bands that Clint Beat has turned me on to, Stone Meadow of Doom. Check out their YouTube channel. Any of the bands that Clint's turned me on to, I would just have to travel to the Midwest. But if I ever want to see like my favorites, like Kal El and Dope Lord, it's going to be a European vacation, man. And not in that Chevy Chase kind of way either, man. It's going to be me with a head full of steroids and opiate painkillers staggering around somewhere in Warsaw after having just toured the fucking concentration camps or something and going and seeing Dope Lord play. So ABBA or Yngwie. You don't have to answer that, Emily. You are under no obligation to answer that. You can exercise your Fifth Amendment privilege. Although this is an interesting little footnote, we're not going to go down this rabbit hole, but it's like a pre-rabbit hole little dip in the pond. This is something that I was reminded of this week. I'd been vaguely aware of this for some time, but are you guys familiar with the Lebensborn project? This was something that was started under Adolf Hitler in Nazi Germany, where he had specific birthing facilities where the purest of the pure, mein Führer, of the SS officer class would be paired off with the most beautiful Aryan birth mothers, the blonde-haired, blue-eyed, good Aryan stock, and it was basically a breeding program for the super race. I can walk. Anyway, sorry, that little hand twitch happens to me every time I say. Anyway, one of the members of ABBA was actually a product. It's one of the two women, and it's not the one that you would expect. I'll let you dig in on that. But one of the female singers in ABBA was actually the product of the SS Lebensborn project under Adolf Hitler. And again, that's one of those things that I've been like tangentially aware of, but much like Ryan, and we're going to get into the rabbit hole here in a minute. Ryan and I have probably forgotten more obscure historical information than most of you guys are ever going to learn. And that's not to disparage y'all's intellect or your will for it. It's just we've got a good 10, 20 years on most of you where we could explore that kind of stuff, where we weren't primarily focused on something else. I don't doubt that we've got some pretty incredible knowledge sets out there in my fucking fan base and my friends, but, Ryan and I got a little jump on it. That's one of those things that had like processed through my head and I had completely forgotten. Much like the rabbit hole this week, which we're going to get into. It's something that I had been intimately familiar with, but also had forgotten. I was like, wait a minute, that's like vaguely familiar, and I know it's tied to this other thing. Oh, fuck, man, I had totally forgotten about this guy. So, that's the way it goes. Bart's brain is a bizarre inner landscape. It's a weird fucking place to be. In any case, let me get the sponsor shout-outs out of the way first, and then we can jump into the meat of this stuff, because I know that's what you guys are waiting around on. First and foremost, as always, Roman and his lovely wife, Carrie. Roman has been a friend of mine all the way back to 1988. We go way back. So beyond being a sponsor of the program, he is one of my oldest and dearest friends, and we're happy to have him on board. He and his lovely wife, Carrie, and of course, Allie and Roxy, and the bevy of beautiful women over at opiumtales.com. You can check them out at their website. You can check them out on Twitter again. Now that, the king is dead, long live the king over at Twitter. He's back. He's one of the most creative people I've ever met in my life, whether it's music or visual arts or whatever. He's doing some outstanding watercolor work of very, very beautiful naked women, and he's coupling that with his own testosterone-driven commentary. So, naked female flesh, testosterone-driven commentary. If you are a resident of Planet Bart, you are all about it. So get out there and see them at opiumtales.com. They are the erotic pinups and portraits people. Also, as always, Casey and Dusty Tellison, my Viking brothers from Nordic Smoke Barbecue, the only legit barbecue in the inland Northwest. I will go to the wall for that, man. I will go to the fucking wall for that. But besides putting out an amazing fucking product, and again, you got to think, man, my lineage, I'm like North Carolina by way of Texas, 18 years in the Tar Heel State, 26 years in the Lone Star State. I am not easily impressed by barbecue. These guys are the real fucking deal, man. And besides putting out that awesome product, they've got the smoker truck out there, the long ship, as it's been designated. It's back out there, and they're doing catering. They're doing regular trips with the long ship, that big smoker truck that they have. They do holiday stuff. They do special occasions. If you're in the inland Northwest, get with them. If you're not, at least offer them some kind of support. They ship on some of the, they have sauces now and rubs available for shipping. So you can get your own little Nordic smoke groove on wherever the hell you are. Some of you barbecue professionals like Brother Ryan out there with the massive fucking barbecue skills, we can get some of that stuff down to him. You know, it's difficult for me to imagine him upping his barbecue game because he's so fucking top notch at it right now. But, you know, every little thing, throw something different in. But see him, Nordic Smoke Barbecue, the only legit barbecue in the inland Northwest. And one of the Viking brothers, Casey Tellison, check out Casey's book. He was a machine gunner with the United States Marine Corps, Semper Fi Casey. He humped the 249, he humped the pig, you know, the M60 for you not old fuckers. But he humped belt feds all over the sandbox, and he put out his memoir, which is called Freaks of a Feather. It went to like the top of its category on Amazon. It is heavily and thoroughly reviewed. Everything is positive. General Mattis, that's right, Mad Dog fucking Mattis took my bro Casey out to fucking dinner because Mattis, also a Marine, Mattis also a resident of the Northwest, and so he got to meet one of his heroes as a result of that book. But again, I'm not telling tales out of school here because he has said so in an interview. This book started out as a suicide note, and it got him through, and so it's definitely worth checking out. Published by Latop Press out of Spokane, Washington. Casey is now in law school. I think he is going to be equal. I think he's going to be just as adept at the law as he is being a husband and a father and a gunner and a Marine and just a top-notch human being. So worth checking out. So Nordic Smoke Barbecue, opiumtales.com. Check out the book Freaks of a Feather. Gift it to your reader friends. We all have at least one. They get more and more rare as the years go by, seems like. So yes, actually I'm trying to figure out where to squeeze that in, but we're going to go with the rabbit hole first because that is what we lead with. It is one of our most popular segments, Ryan's Rabbit Hole. One of the things that Ryan and I, and you guys know Ryan, Brother Ryan, opened the door for me to start on this crane operator journey. He's a close and dear friend of mine. Love him like my flesh and blood. Much like myself, and one of the things that we bonded over is we both are repositories of useless information. This makes us this makes us your last choice to want to play a game of Trivial Pursuit against, but for conversation, it's always worthwhile just to hang out and listen, even if you don't want to jump in. In any case, every week we go down this little rabbit hole right at the start of the program. Sometimes it dovetails with what we're talking about. I like it better when it doesn't, because it's a departure on that front, and it kind of, you know, it takes everybody out. Instead of just pounding with the pounding and the pounding of the material, it just kind of gives you a little sidebar project, and it's also kind of like a homework assignment, because you can bookmark a couple of these tabs and go further down the rabbit hole later on after the program. In any case, some weeks we go historical, some weeks we go philosophical, some weeks we go conspiratorial, some weeks we go esoteric. And the esoteric weeks, Ryan really makes me fucking work for it because that's his goddamn wheelhouse. This week, it's going to be historical, but not in the conventional way that you would think of history. It's one of those obscure bits of really, really nasty history. Your search term is going to be Paul Muller. Paul Muller. Muller like the Mueller report, but without the E. It's M-U with the umlaut, the umlaut, which is for you Motorhead fans out there, the two dots that you had no idea what they were there for. Paul Muller. Paul Muller, bottom line, was an axe murderer. Okay. But beyond an axe murderer, and a very prolific axe murderer, not only in two countries but in two continents, had some style. He think of Paul Muller as a tourist with homicidal urges. In any case, they imagine him to be, and there's, again, because of the age in which these homicides took place, they can't really get a good estimate. This isn't like a Gacy thing where you're digging bodies out of crawl spaces and you know how many victims there were. This isn't a Henry Lee Lucas thing where him and Otis are rolling around and he's taking credit for murder, and explaining and taking credits for homicides all over the country. They were never able to get a specific fix on the number of people that he took out. Lowball estimates are somewhere in the range of 50 to 75. Higher end estimates run anywhere from 2 to 400. He rode the rails. Was a hobo. Okay, for all intents and purposes, hobo. Of course, you guys know the history on that. Homeward bound. Now we call them bums, whatever the fuck. Charles Manson considered himself a hobo, but he didn't fit that. He rode the rails and he went from town to town. Now he was labor class in Germany, late 1800s labor class in Germany. He came to America early 1900s and went back to, well, what he was good at, which is being a drifter, taking jobs here and there, using his charisma to ingratiate himself with people, and then hacking them to bits with a large fucking axe. There is another one, and I'm bringing this up, and largely I'm throwing this one in as a nod to my son. James Austin Brown, you know him on Facebook as James Wilder. He is my son. And he got me going down a rabbit hole with a series of murders that took place in March of 1922 in a little village in Germany called Hinterkaifeck. And the Hinterkaifeck murders were committed not with an axe but with a mattock, only because there were no axes in the immediate vicinity of this farmhouse where the Hinterkaifeck murders took place. But an entire family was hacked to death with a mattock, with a large pickaxe, for those of you who are unfamiliar with what a mattock is. And some people have theorized that Paul Muller may have been connected to the Hinterkaifeck murders. Again, never caught. A lot of the stuff was never verified. And he moved pretty much freely between Germany and the United States. The big murders that he's known for took place in the American Midwest, particularly Iowa. The ones that took place in Germany happened, in particular regions, but there were patterns. So we'll never know how many he killed. You guys get to go down that rabbit hole as far as you want to go, and go down the Hinterkaifeck rabbit hole as well. Again, Paul Muller, M-U umlaut, L-L-E-R. And Hinterkaifeck is going to be Hinterkaifeck, the Hinterkaifeck murders. How does this bear up with regard to anything? Well, I'm going to tell you, in my view, it bears up because there are monsters like this still walking around in the fucking world. At the time that, right... If you're wondering how the rabbit hole segment comes together, it's normally in Ryan and mine weekly phone call. after the program, we give a call and we discuss the events of the week, and that's normally how it comes together. But apparently, he's got next week, so great. But that is your rabbit hole, man. Paul Mueller and the Hinterkaifeck murders. That is going to be your rabbit hole for the week. So follow that down as far as you're comfortable with, and a little bit beyond your comfort zone. Again, it's just a little poke into your bread oven, give you something to think about, little parts of history that you might not have, to which you may not have previously been exposed. Watch how I did that grammatically correct thing again. How is this still relevant? Because there are still people like that walking around in the fucking world. That's why. Keep in mind, at the time that the Mueller murders were committed, and Hinterkaifeck, it was easy for people to travel. There wasn't a whole lot of documentation involved. There were not computer databases, and the databases, such as they did exist, were index card files and large file boxes and things like that. Someone could manufacture a fake identification document with relative ease and use it to secure a passport. So yes, transportation was slow because it was by ship and it was by rail, but if you were of a mind to do some serious damage to other members of your species, it was a good time to be alive. People like Paul Mueller, it was a very good time to be alive. But don't kid yourself. It was one of the excuses they used to sell us the surveillance state was that it would make us safer, was that it would make it harder for criminals to do what they do, that requiring documentation from everyone and papers, please, was actually going to protect us. It was actually going to protect ordinary people. It was never about that. It was always about control. Because in spite of all of those measures, people do manage to circumvent that. Our southern border is wide the fuck open. And Rafael Resendez Ramirez comes to mind. And Ryan, feel free to jump right in on that. But Rafael Resendez Ramirez was a serial killer in Texas, and he operated, late 90s, early 2000s. And again, because there was a complete lack of security measures where they needed to be in place, American citizens had heavy ID requirements, and we practically had to provide a blood and stool sample just to get on a fucking train. The consular matricula cards, if you've lived in Texas or any of the border states, you know what a consular matricula card is. It is given out by the Mexican consulate in different towns, and unfortunately, people accept it without question, even though there's next to no documentation required to get that consular matricula card. Rafael Resendez Ramirez rode the rails all over Texas. He stopped in these small West Texas towns. He'd get out, kill 2 or 3 people, hop a train, fucking continue to ride the rails. When they caught him, he had, if memory serves, Ryan, feel free to fact check me on this. When they caught Rafael Resendez Ramirez, he had 6 different matricula cards under 4 different identities, none of which corresponded to who he actually was. So again, even in this day and age, with all of the countermeasures, it is still possible for these people to slide under the radar. You look at Henry Lee Lucas and Otis Toole, the dregs. This is why, and you guys know that I'm very, very passionate about the homeless tweakers and the scumbags and the way that they move around the country, and the way that there are entire YouTube channels devoted to homeless tweakers migrating by hopping commercial railroads and stuff, and the gee whiz factor of that. And, oh, look, they're old school hobos. No, man. Don't over glamorize old school hobos, because a lot of these people were sick fucks, and the ones who are still doing it now are almost without exception sick fucks. They're not on the radar, and the only time that they pop up is when they do something horrifically violent. People like that still walk around in the world. So when you're doing your Pollyanna thing and, oh, I feel compassionate for the poor, keep in mind that almost 100% of these homeless dregs and derelicts are mentally ill. At least 70 to 80%, depending on what set of stats you're looking at, are on drugs. And a good 40 to 50% have previous violent incidents of a criminal nature. One minute you're giving $5 to a bum, the next minute you're getting a chunk of steel crammed in your guts in front of your fucking kids, all right? be aware, head on a swivel, always. And I'm not saying this to black pill anybody. We already know where I'm at on the tweaker problem. Bulldozers and flamethrowers, baby. Let's clear that fucking camp out of Spokane. But again, on an individual level, you don't want to do, what did we say? What was the first thing we said in the opener? Fear is a liar. Fear is a liar. That is true. Fear is a liar, and you don't want your children and your families and your loved ones to be paralyzed by fear. But what is a bigger threat than fear is ignorance and blithely drifting through life with this Pollyanna attitude that everything is essentially going to be fine and that people are basically good. Nothing could be further from the truth. You can't live at 100% intensity all the fucking time, like you're a tier 1 operator with that level of situational awareness. We've got lives to live, but you've got to be at least tangentially aware that there are very bad people like that still walking around in the world. They're not able to move around as easily as Paul Muller was at the turn of the previous century, but they're still out there, man. They're still out there, and they are ready, willing, and able to do some fucking damage. So be aware of that and let it color your perspective. Speaking of perspective, my lovely wife Charlie sent me an article. We disagree vehemently and argue on damn near everything when it comes to matters of social commentary, politics, things like that. We bicker about a lot of shit. So when she sends me something that is in my wheelhouse and is something that I can share with this audience, don't get me wrong, she is my number one fan, she is my biggest supporter, she's my best friend, and I love her. But we don't agree on a lot. So when she sends me something that's going to be in the wheelhouse, it's something that I feel like is applicable enough to the subject matter that I want to share it with you guys, it's definitely a worthwhile moment to mark your calendar. And this morning I found this in my inbox. And again, how is this relevant? I'll tell you how it's relevant. One of the things that we're constantly talking about is perception being 9/10 of reality. And of course, stimulus response. Perception being 9/10 of reality. If you can control people's perception, you can control people's reality, or at least how they experience their mainstream reality construct. There was a little experiment that popped up, and she sent this to me. This is from mymodernmet.com. Canon decoy experiment. Okay, now stay with me on this. Basically, it's not always spin. With the legacy media, it is. With the narrative makers, it is. With the propaganda ministry, it is. It's always spin. And it's very, very deliberate. And they know going in where they're trying to take the story, where they're trying to steer your perception and therefore your reality. But as I've always said on the program, it doesn't have to be intentional. Everyone has an agenda. When I am speaking to you out there and I'm expressing the things that are important to me, I am expressing it with an agenda, because I think that my worldview is pretty fucking tight, and I think it could benefit a lot of people. I would not want the entire world to live the way that I do and think the way that I do. It would not only be boring, it would be dangerous. Okay? But when I am relaying information to you, it is coming through my lens. It is colored through my lens. So no matter how objective that I try to be about it, and I do, and I think you guys will stand with me on that, it will always be colored by my own life experiences and my own preconceived notions. It's wise to try to check those preconceived notions. Anyway, the article that my wife sent me from mymodernmet.com, the Canon Decoy Project. 6 photographers were invited to photograph one man, and it basically reveals the power perspective, not only from the photographer, but for anyone who is going to look at the photos that he or she is taking. Okay, they basically took 6 photographers, and they told each photographer a different story about the person that they were going to be photographing. They gave a fake name. The guy's fake name was Michael, and every photographer was given a different backstory about Michael. And then they were told to do this photo shoot for a magazine article that was going to be written about Michael, right? We could go into the normal biases for the photographer class. They tend to be artistic, they tend to be creative, and therefore tend to be left leaning. That's not a slag or any sort of disparagement. That's just kind of calling it what it is. But I want you guys to go to this. You know what? I'm going to play with my production screen here, and I'm going to go back over to banners, and I'm actually going to post this link because I want you guys to have a look at it. Here we go, right here. There it is. That is the link. Of course, you're not going to be able to click directly from YouTube or Twitter to go check that out, but punch it up in, if you're on a laptop or whatever, punch it up in another tab. But that is the article. So they were all invited to photograph this one guy, and they were all given a different backstory for him. And when I roll through and I look, they've got the pictures that came out of these different photo shoots through the eyes of the lensman or lenswoman, lens person, however you fucking whatever, the photographer, and their notion of the person who was defined by this backstory clearly colored the way that he was presented in their photographs. You've heard that a picture is worth 1,000 words. You've also heard that a picture doesn't lie. No, but liars take pictures. And I don't even mean deliberate liars. I mean, obviously with MSNBC or CNN or the propaganda ministry or the DOJ, whoever, when they're taking pictures, it's a deliberate lie. But these people were taking pictures based on their preconceived notion. And the photog that was told that he was a self-made millionaire had him looking very gruff and, maybe consumed with power in one pose. The guy that was told that and again, this is all the same person. It's the same person being photographed with 6 different backstories going to 6 different photographers. The guy that photographed a supposed recovering alcoholic has him just beaming and full of life. The guy who photographed what he thought was a fisherman had him very gruff and scowling and looking blue collar. However, when they photographed the same guy and the backstory was that he was an ex-convict, look at him. He's beaming. He's triumphed over everything. He's smiling. And the guy that was told that he was a life-saving first responder just has him in a very no-nonsense look. What is the lesson here? Well, let's take a look at the way that these different backstories colored the judgments and the preconceived notions of these photographers, man. You would think that somebody who was told as a self-made millionaire, you'd photograph this guy as somebody who's on top of his fucking game, but instead the photographs depicted someone who was very firm, not in a no-nonsense kind of way, but almost I'm rich and you're not. The fisherman, the guy that was given the fisherman backstory, he photographed a scowling, beaten down by life, calloused hands kind of guy. So being a millionaire and being a fisherman, well, that's just, that's just going to take a lot out of you. That's just going to be pressing you for life. However, recovering alcoholic, you and I know that somebody who is a recovering alcoholic, someone who is a recovered addict, this guy's seen some shit, right? My addiction and that whole process, I saw a lot of shit, and it weathered me. Now, you guys know that I can smile just as much as the next guy, but you would not think of me as a smiling kind of guy. Most recovering alcoholics you don't think of as like smiling and above it all. Most ex-convicts you don't think of as happy-go-lucky fellas. I mean, unless it was federal penitentiary for fucking process crimes, but because then you get out and you get a job with MSNBC. The point is this: the ex-convict and the recovering alcoholic were depicted as just happy, on top of the world. The working man and the guy whose work had netted him six-figure incomes and made him a fucking millionaire had a more sinister look about it. I urge you to follow the link and go check it out. What is the larger point? The larger point is this. As I have said before, you guys know it, I know it. Everybody has an agenda. Everybody has preconceived notions that color the story that they tell. But even when you're not doing it intentionally, the things that people tell you affect your judgment of a person, even if they are a complete stranger. Hell, especially if they're a complete stranger. I'm always urging you to keep sharp, to stay sharp, to try to stay sharp, observant, and objective. And this feeds into that. It does. Be careful how you respond to what you are told, right, about a person and their backstory. Be careful about making assumptions about a person and their backstory. Because just like these photographers put it out in a very tangible, very visible form. Okay? They had their notions based on this guy's backstory of who this person was as a human being. And that is what they specifically depicted to their audience, to other people. And that is still how they looked at this person on their own. You tracking? You follow me here? So say you were told something about somebody's backstory. Be careful about making assumptions about who they are based on that. Be careful in how it affects your own thinking, let alone how it is presented to others. And what is the best way to be prepared for either eventuality is to have your shit so squared away that you can tighten up your ass and ship me Tiffany cufflinks. Because at that point, it doesn't matter what this person's backstory is. It can be taken and filtered through the lens of something that is outside of yourself. When you take that backstory and you internalize it, not only does it color how you react to the person in front of you, it colors how you present that person to other folks down the line, which in turn colors their thinking and how they present it. Do you see how this gets out of control? Case in point, strong labels. I'm going to throw this out. It's just two words. I want you to close your eyes. I'm going to throw these two words out. And I don't want you to process anything in your head, but how those two words immediately make you feel, okay? Close your eyes. Child molester. Wow. That struck deep, didn't it? So imagine you don't know someone, and they get hung with that fucking label. Are you responding objectively? Are you looking at the evidence? Or do you go in with your judgment already colored before the facts have even been completely revealed on the situation? The flip side of that is, do you have the luxury of handling that on a case-by-case basis if the children who are potentially threatened are your children? Let's say that it's not a stranger. Let's say that it's someone you know, right? Let's say, fuck it, hang that jacket on the Rev for a minute. Hang that jacket on the Reverend. You guys know what I am, and you guys know, more to the point, what I'm not. But if somebody hung that backstory on me, however false, and it got picked up by media outlets, and it got pushed, and it developed momentum, and it developed traction, and then later, of course, the facts came out, and they had to retract everything. Depending on how close you are to me, you know from the get-go that it's not true. But depending on your closeness and your history with me, you're probably still not going to call me up to babysit. So be careful when people present something out of someone's backstory. Just like with any other narrative, you need to filter it. It's obviously it's going to be processed through your own lens. We can't help that. We all have our histories. We all have our confirmation biases. We all have our hot buttons. But try to remain objective, both in the way that you absorb what you were being told about this person's backstory, how it reflects on that person, and damn sure how you carry that narrative to everyone else. When the media does it, they do it with malicious intent. When the propaganda ministry does it, they do it with malicious intent. They make no pretense at being objective. And Fox is just as fucking guilty, right? Let's not mince words on that. But be aware that everybody has an agenda. And filter that agenda. Remain as objective as possible. But again, the prime directive, strength above all, right? And the way to be strong here is to have your own shit squared away. That it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter who this person is, how they are presented to you, or how you view them going forward. Because your shit is so squared away that you're not going to be vulnerable to this person no matter how much truth or untruth there is to that backstory. You have your own shit squared up that it doesn't matter whether that Mad Owl guy or that Stelter bitch are lying to you about a particular political this, that, or the other thing. It doesn't matter. It's got only a tangential effect on your life, and even then only as much as you record it, because your shit is squared away. You feel me? You tracking? Clean up your own fucking yard, and then it doesn't matter what your neighbor's yard looks like. You don't even have to knock on that door at all. So anyway, that was it. I posted the link. Hopefully you guys will check that out. Pretty fascinating little psychological case study. And again, I got to credit my wife, the lovely Miss Charlie, for that. Where's she at on her therapy, Bart? I'm so glad you asked. We are currently on the ass end. We're looking at another couple of months. But she is on the ass end of her third round of chemo. Everything is going well. All of her tests that are coming back, are markedly improved. We are just about out of this fucking nightmare. And of course, Charlie, as always, is bulletproof. So thank you guys for asking, and thank you for your prayers and your offers of support. And you guys that have measured me directly, thank you for all of that. Okay, what is our next bullet point? Let's break that down. Yes, preconceived notions and their effect on perception and response. Here's something about preconceived notions and perception and response. We're going to talk about whataboutism. Whataboutism? Yes, whataboutism. How does this dovetail into the previous topic? Well, the previous topic, I placed a lot of importance on specificity, that details matter, that facts matter, that the entirety of a story, say for instance, if someone gives you the backstory that this person you've just met is a recovering drug addict. All right, cool. How long has he got sober? That's a pretty important, relevant fact, wouldn't it be? Right? Guy's an ex-convict. Okay, what did he do time for? Cool. How long ago was that? Cool. What kind of life has he led since he got out of the pen? Right? All these things matter with regard to. Hey, George, glad you made it, buddy. David, good to see you too. How does this matter with regard to whataboutism? The devil is in the details, all right? You tell me somebody's a recovering drug addict because of my experience, right? And again, call it through my lens. I'm going to need some more details because in my experience, my first reaction, look, man, and you can, color me judgmental. I don't care. But I walked away from the hard shit 25 plus years ago. We're coming up on 26 years in April, okay? Out of every 100 addicts that quit, take a wild guess. We've gone over this on this term before. Out of every 100 hard drug addicts that quit, particularly IV drug addicts that quit, how many of them make it to the 3-year mark without a relapse? Out of every 100. Take a wild guess. 3. That's the fucking statistics. 3 out of 100. So when you tell me a guy's a recovering drug addict, yes, I'm looking at him sideways. Because I know, at least as colored by my experience, it's just a matter of time for this motherfucker. And he's going to have to work extra hard to demonstrate to me, right, that he is the exception and not the fucking rule. Like, you look at Joel, speaking of, and I think he just made I actually think he just made a comment about that. Yes. Brother Joel is both an ex-con and a former addict, and he's remained fairly happy-go-lucky, albeit cynical. Look, man, not telling tales out of school here, but Joel and I were in the throes of that fucking needle train together, right? Joel went on to higher education at the TDC, at the University of Texas Department of Corrections. He's a recovering addict and an ex-con, but you got to look at how long he's been recovered, how long he's been out of the penitentiary, and what he has done in the meantime and between time. Those are all relevant facts. If you give me the backstory on Joel and you tell me, yeah, dude, guy's an ex-con, recovering addict, and I don't know the motherfucker, I ain't got a bucket of warm piss to give to him right out of the starting gate. Does that seem heartless? Maybe. But again, that's colored through the lens of my experience. How does that have to do with whataboutism? Okay. Because you can't boil everything down to simplicity. The easiest thing, and it's always, and the right is just as guilty as the left these days, even though the left pretty much invented the art and the science behind whataboutism. Yeah, but you guys are yeah, but what about that? Well, politician A did this. Yes, but you're just saying whataboutism. You're just saying whataboutism. Whataboutism is the shittiest dodge for someone who has been caught dead ass being a fucking hypocrite. That's it. That is the sum total of whataboutism. Okay, the people who are doing the people who are throwing out accusations of whataboutism, right, almost without exception, are guilty as fuck, dog dick fucking hypocrites. And the only way because they cannot make a case to excuse or justify or rationalize their hypocrisy. And they have already pointed at the other team and have the facts handed back to them, right? They will excuse themselves by saying, well, that's just whataboutism, right? You're as dirty as I am. You're just pointing at me and saying, what about? No, what I'm doing to you is pointing at you with a clear set of facts and information that says you're completely full of shit, that you have no principles, and that you're being an absolute fucking hypocrite, right? Oh, fine. Just that's whataboutism. That's what that is. That's whataboutism. It is the most intellectually emasculated, ideologically dishonest fucking shitbox of a dodge out there. Period. Right? The example that came up this week. Hang on one second. I'm going to move that a little bit further down the line here. What happened this week? Well, we went over a little bit of this in the opener, and I'll show you the pictures. What happened a while back, and much was made of it. Mar-a-Lago, right? Trump's home in Florida, his home and his office, whatever. His home got raided, and there were a shitload of classified documents. All of these documents collectively amounted to a bucket of warm piss. A complicit media and a propaganda ministry put out that it was everything from known intelligence assets to nuclear codes to everything like that. All, of course, as always, based on anonymous sources, right? In any case, you hear the president had classified documents, and your immediate gut level reaction, much as when you hear this guy's a recovering drug addict or an ex-con, you bristle immediately. You go into defensive mode. Well, that's fucking shitty. He's not supposed to walk out of there with that, until the relevant facts come out. And the relevant facts of the matter is that every fucking president leaves office with classified documents. Here's some more relevant facts for you. Every president has the right, as part of his office, as long as he is in office, to declassify any fucking thing he feels like. All right? Every president that has promised to fucking dump the files about the government's knowledge of UFOs and everything, I mean, they're all shithole liars. If they really wanted to dump that information, they could. Many politicians have promised that if they get into office, they're going to release all of the findings of the fucking JFK and everything else. And it never gets released. Well, you know, the president can only do so much. That's bullshit. That's bullshit. The president literally has the power to declassify anything. Anything. Nuclear codes, knowledge of UFOs, how deeply we were involved, not whether, because we know better than that, not whether, but how deeply we were involved in what happened on Dealey Plaza, 22 November 1963. They can release it. They have the power to do that. That's a fairly relevant fact. And when you leave that relevant fact out, guess what? It gets colored through the lenses of people's preconceived notions. If people already hated Darth Cheeto, again, I neither deify nor demonize, I'm not putting the guy up on a fucking pedestal. He is a clown-shoed, spray-tanned, inarticulate buffoon of the highest order. He did very well and was very effective as a president. I will say that absolutely without equivocation. Outside of that, not my favorite guy, really not. But here he was clearly, oh, well, the National Archives wanted that back. Okay, well, he had already contacted the National Archives. Another relevant bit of information. So what happened this week? It turns out, and again, there were interviews, and I wish I'd have loaded up a couple of sound bites for you. Interviews with the current cadaver-in-chief. That corpse walking around, that zombie corpse walking around the Oval Office. Oh, guns are bad, inflation. Biden, some lawyers were going through his think tank, and first of all, oh God, Biden has a think tank. Biden has a think tank. Okay. Biden is worthy of a think tank in the same way that Megan Thee Stallion is worthy of a research center for cultural purity. Biden is worthy of a think tank in the same way that in the same way that Nickelback should have a foundation for the studies of heavy metal. How this even happened is beyond me, but we're not going down. The route that we're taking is he's got a think tank. He was a professor at University of Pennsylvania after his tenure as vice president. And before the midterm elections, let me say that again, before the midterm elections, some lawyers were going through the closet at his think tank. And lo and behold, they found a shitload of classified documents. SCI classified documents. How is that relevant? SCI, sensitive compartmentalized information. For all my cloak and dagger guys out there, sensitive compartmentalized information. Maybe I have. Don't judge me. God damn it. This is true, David. Good observation. Even the National Archives cannot have the stuff that Biden had. Right. That is absolutely true. Why? Because it is sensitive compartmentalized information. That is the designation. The only time you can't even remove that. You can't even take it somewhere else. The only place even a president is the only place a president is even allowed to see that information. He can still declassify it. He can look at it and say, this SCI designation is bullshit. I'm going to fucking make it public because I'm the president. You can do that. But while he is in office, the only time he can actually see that information is inside of a facility called a SCIF. Okay? sensitive compartmentalized information facility. They generally have white noise generators. They have light protection. They have vibration and laser detectors because you can actually use a laser to perceive sound through the window of a room. So there are specific facilities that are designated, specific security measures that are in place to even be able to see this stuff. Biden had them in his closet at his think tank at the University of Pennsylvania. Well, immediately, whataboutism? Yeah, but what about Trump? What about Trump? What about Trump? Okay. And the propaganda ministry went into full excuse great leader mode. And in fact, what did they put out? The initial story on CNN, God damn it, I wish I would have, you know what, I am going to download that because it bears repeating. There we go. BRT, and I'm going to click that over to here, and we're going to post it up for you. Sorry, just bear with me, man. I'm still working. It's just me, man. It's just me. No production facility, no sound mixer, no nothing. Here we go. Okay, cool. There we go. And as soon as it's downloaded, so this was CNN's response, which was fine initially when the story ran. That was true. There were more than 300 documents found at Mar-a-Lago, which was Trump's residence's office. 60 of them were top secret. Top secret, right? Notice that none of them were SCI. He's under investigation for obstruction. That means nothing. He's under investigation. The archives reached out to Trump lawyers rather than his lawyers reaching out to the archives first. This is whataboutism as its finest. Yes, Biden is guilty. Yes, he found the things, but he had, all right, more than 10 documents found at a private office in D.C., his home in Delaware, some top secret, failing to recognize that top secret, they didn't mention how many of them were SCI files. He says he is cooperating fully. Biden says a lot of things. He tells you he got in a fight with a dude named Corn Pop. He tells you that his son died in Iraq. He tells you that, he continues to repeat the lie that he was jailed in South Africa trying to go and visit Mandela. I mean, come on. He says a lot of things. He says he's cooperating fully. Cool. Even assuming he is, they found another batch of documents this week. And they call it a batch or a bundle. And now there has been a third batch or bundle. Notice they're not giving specific numbers. That guy's an ex-con and a recovering drug addict. Okay, great. What else can you tell me about him? That guy's a fisherman. That guy's a self-made millionaire. Cool. What else can you tell me about him? You see how this dovetails with what we were just talking about. What you are told about a person and how it colors your judgment. What you are told about an event and how it colors your judgment. Whataboutism immediately is what CNN and the rest of the propaganda ministry went into. Yeah, what about Trump? What about Mar-a-Lago documents? What about this? What about that? That gets back into the importance of specificity. Biden was never president. Therefore, he never had the right to declassify any of those documents. So when he walked with them, he was in clear violation of the law, period, full stop. Have vice presidents done that before? Oh, doubtless. Doubtless vice presidents have done that before. Al Gore probably did it. Dan Quayle probably walked out with a few under Bush Sr. I'm sure that it's been done before, but it is in violation of the law. He has no right to declassify anything, and the specific nature of those were such that the only time even a president can view that information is inside a secure facility. So if they are removed from the facility by a vice president who is someone who does not have the legal ability to declassify that information, we got a problem. We definitely got a problem. What about Trump? What about Trump? What about Trump? I can provide factual answers for every one of those things. Was it irresponsible for him to take some of this stuff? Yes. Did he break the law? No. In spite of what the media, in spite of what a weaponized DOJ will try to push on you, he wasn't in violation. Sorry. Biden remains to be seen. All I know is that the FBI, the DOJ, showed up to raid Trump's place and not Biden's. But again, getting back to the article that my lovely wife was nice enough to forward me, the things that you are told are going to color your perceptions. It's going to be viewed through the lens of your own preconceived notions just because of your life experience. But when someone is giving you information on top of that, it's going to further color your judgment. This guy isn't, as we said with the photographers, this guy is an ex-convict. This guy is a recovering alcoholic. This guy is a self-made millionaire. And already you're putting pictures together in your head. When specificity becomes most important is when these outside factors are giving you incomplete pieces of information. You can feel how you want, and again, we're not doing the political shrieking anymore. I'm not doing that. You can feel how you want about Biden. You can feel how you want about Darth Cheeto. You can, you will, and you should. But understand when you're processing this information that it is going to be processed through your own lens as a matter of course, as it was with these photographers. And if these photographers, let's say they were given incomplete information, they would have had that lens, pardon the pun, further colored by the incomplete information that they receive. What did they tell him? Okay, well, this guy's an ex-convict. And since he got out of jail, he has been doing public outreach work with this, that, and the other thing. Or this guy's an ex-convict. Since he's gotten out, he's barely made his parole requirements, and he's currently, he's currently under investigation for domestic. Every detail counts. Specificity counts. And when the only fallback you have is, what about that guy? You're immediately telling me that details don't matter to you. I want to know. Like we said before, and Joel was the perfect example. Joel, I'm not telling tales out of school here because we both publicly stated it on social media. I'm not going to go too deep into it. Joel and I, we have a lot of common, very dark background through the addiction process. Many a tale could be told about many a fucking no-tell motel down along the Southwest Freeway. Many a tale could be told. Oh, look at that. Look who decided to be here. Look at this. There she is. I want you guys to take a look at that. Do you see how beautiful she is? Do you see how beautiful that woman is? Now I want you to imagine her with a bald head and realize, God damn it, she is even more beautiful with a bald head. And we're all going to take a public vote right now while I've still got her here and I've still got her attention. Guys, everybody sound off in the comments. Should she keep her head shaved? Yes or no? Keep it shaved or let it grow back. I want everybody to jump into the comments right now. There you go. You see that? You see that? Look at that. Roman's already on board. Mr. Wright, blessings for you, Charlie Harlan. You see, honey, you're a big hit. All right, but guys, answer the question. There you go. George likes your bald head. Who else? Who else is down? Do we let her grow back? You keep the head shaved. Thank you, George. Thank you. Thank you for the support. Anyway, taking that. Emmy with, of course, the politically correct and, of course, would be the answer that a woman would go with. Mr. Wright tiptoeing through the tulips because he's been in long-term relationships and knows that there's no correct answer to that. She's gorgeous both ways. Yeah, Joel. Anyway, important details. If you're laying this stuff out for me, if you tell me Joel is a reformed drug addict and an ex-convict, I need more details. And if you give me more details and they're painting a particular picture that I don't like, right? Do I address those details and say, hey, man, this is fairly relevant information that since he's been out, he has, he doesn't do this, but he does these other things, and he's developed an unhealthy fascination with fisting porn and yada, yada, yada. This is relevant information. If I start bringing these things up, or on the other end, since he's been out, he's been doing outreach to drug addicts and trying to pull guys off the street and get them in a program, that's relevant information too. But if I'm being handed these facts and they don't fit my preconceived notion, and the only thing that I have to offer is, maybe he did that, but what about that guy? Yeah, maybe Joel's into fisting porn, but what about that guy? Is the same as a Biden supporter or a Trump supporter getting the information coming in and saying, yeah, but what about that? What about that? Give me the relevant facts. If you are truly a critical thinker, you will not be afraid of whatever information comes across that third eye. You will not be afraid of whatever facts, statistics, or other extraneous information may be imparted. You will take a look at the entire picture as best you can, and you will be as objective as you can. That's all that's all that can be asked for anybody. It's all that can be asked for, of, or from anyone. So, whataboutism as a dodge? Again, dovetailing with the article on the photographers, that those relevant facts should color your judgment, and that giving people partial backstories and things like that are going to color their judgment. You have to be aware of this in your own environment. You know, when you're watching mainstream anything, that they are coming at you with a narrative. But understand that even people that you talk to in day-to-day conversations, whether it's on the job site or whether it's online, this kind of, thank you, George. Yes, I mean, too long didn't read. We should always wait for all the information before we decide. Maybe not all the information, because we are going to find out, sometimes we're going to be pressed for time. Sometimes we have to make snap decisions and the stakes are really high, but we have to act on the best information, and we have to be objective about the information that comes in. Yes, it's going to be colored because maybe this guy is doing really shitty things, but I've known the guy for a long time, and so I'm hesitant to make a move. You've got to lose that hesitancy. You understand? This is what it is to be a critical thinker. This is what it is to be objective. This is what it is to look at things big picture. Yeah, ladies' choice were pretty either way. Yes, Joel, of course. What's wrong with this? We're getting off topic, Joel. We're getting off topic, Joel. Joel, what's wrong with this? Nothing. Nothing at all. Eeny, meeny, miny, fist. The five knuckle punch fuck. Whatever. I'm sorry. You guys that have been around me for a while know that I had some interaction back in the late 90s, early 2000s with a young lady by the name of Chloe Nicole. That was her performer's name, was Chloe Nicole, and she was basically the fisting queen. And I'm totally, this is our day's trip down Tangent Drive. That's right. Okay. But yeah, I was. I had some interactions with Miss Chloe, and I'm a big fan, Joel. There's absolutely nothing wrong with fisting porn, which is why it keeps coming up as a reference. In any case, I think we have substantially addressed that bullet point. Whataboutism is never acceptable, whether it's on a political level, whether it's on a personal level. If you have facts coming in that are challenging your preconceived notions, right down to the personal, and I mean right down to the personal. If we're talking about someone to whom we have just been introduced, grammatically correct, once again, bang. You make a realistic assessment. And if you find yourself convicted in your heart that you know this is bullshit, right? It's never acceptable to go, yeah, well, this guy may be fucked, but what about your friend? Whataboutism is weak. Okay, guys? It is weak. It is intellectual cowardice as the highest order. Of the highest order, rather. Intellectual cowardice of the highest order. So not only avoid doing it, don't ever do it, but always, as we said earlier about having your shit squared away, when you go into a discussion, and sometimes those discussions break down into arguments no matter what it is, have your shit together enough and on the ball up here that when they throw out that weak ass whataboutism shit, you have an immediate comeback. That's that. So, having covered that bullet point, I'm going to get another little sip of liquid enthusiasm here and we move on. Everybody's still with me, right? Everybody's still tracking? I think Charlie may have dashed on. She's probably on the ride home. Yeti Airlines Flight 691, and God bless it. Okay. Yep. Okay. Right on. Damn it. Fucking Ryan, you got me derailed again. Next bullet point. What happens? And again, the biggest part of that whataboutism spiel, how does it connect? Well, I'll tell you how it connects. One of the things that enables incomplete pictures to be painted is the fact of it's not in the same sense that the Politburo in the Soviet days had control over Pravda and TASS because the Politburo gave them their scripts to read from. Now, it is getting to the point where the United States government gives MSNBC and all the other legacy medias their talking points to read from and the narrative that they wish to create. It is getting to that point. We're not quite there yet. But the de facto control of the press is an ostensibly private company, is it not? First Amendment says the government shall make no law abridging the freedom of speech. Or of religion, provides that it will neither establish a religion nor forbid the free exercise thereof. It will make no, it will abridge no facet of the freedom of speech or the right of the people to peaceably assemble, petition their government for the redress of grievances, but speech, free speech, free speech, free speech, free speech. That's what's at the core of this, free speech and free expression. Our government, the current regime, and when I say regime, I'm talking, and when I say regime, when I say deep state, I'm talking across the board. I am not exempting. And Ryan, please continue to give me an update on that. Please continue to give us updates on that because that was still breaking. In fact, it's right near Nepal. At least 68 dead. And it's safe to assume it's look, the plane Yeti Airlines that crashed this morning in Nepal. There were 72 people on board, and they say that at least 68 are dead. I think it's a reasonably safe assumption that there will be no survivors on that. That's really fucking horrific. Half of the plane is buried into a hillside. This is a breaking story right now as we speak. Rescue efforts were then made with 2 helicopters deployed to the site. Ground team of the Nepalese Army, Armed Forces. Oh, Christ. That's horrible. That's horrible. 15 foreign nationals. 5 from India, 4 Russians, 2 South Koreans, 1 person from Ireland, 1 from Australia, 1 from Argentina, and 1 from France. 37 men, 25 women, 3 were children, and 3 were infants. Yeah, I'm looking at some pictures online right now. Nobody came out of that. Nobody came out of that. 72 on board. They can already account for 68 bodies. Nobody survived that. Yeti Airlines Flight 691. I'm going to take a couple of moments of silence here for those folks. Wow. As Ryan said, may the gods bless their souls. Wow. Jesus. Let me get my focus back here, people. And I'm going to make this quick statement with regard to the cadaver in chief or the Cheeto who's trying to be back in charge. Right now, there are 72 families that don't give a shit. 72 families all over the world that couldn't give 2 fucks about a spray tan buffoon with a shitload of bluster or a fucking corpse that can't read off a teleprompter. They don't care. That shit's real life. Okay? That's part of the epiphany that I had the end part of last year. Is just such a it's something because it is so relevant to day-to-day life, and because the effects of tyranny and authoritarianism can reach into your day-to-day life. It's something that has to be observed and something that has to be accounted for. But to give it that much, to accord it that much gravity when real shit is going on in the world, couldn't do that anymore. during the opener, during the opener, and again, I'm not going to get into the semantic masturbation because I'm rabidly anti-semantic. I'll wait. Fascism should rightly be called corporatism, as it is the merger of corporate and government power. All the while, supporters of the current regime, and when I say current, again, specificity counts. I'm speaking with regard to the deep state. I'm speaking with regard to the establishment. For all the ways that the mainstream press allegedly hated George Bush, they still allowed him to get by without fact-checking him on that cherry-picked intelligence that led us into the fucking Gulf War. Money protects money, power protects power. No conspiracy required. Money protects money, power protects power. Simple as that. The media is a propaganda arm. The founding fathers saw that this possibility existed and would persist. So they put it in our founding documents. The number one principle in the Bill of Rights: freedom of speech. The government will make no law bridging freedom of speech. Here's what the founders couldn't have anticipated: the evolution of how we communicate. The electronic forms, mass communication, radio, television, internet. They couldn't have anticipated that. Back then it was the spoken word in the printing press, and that was it. And the town crier with a fucking, with a paper megaphone standing on a soapbox in the square. They couldn't have anticipated this. They don't have to make laws abridging the freedom of speech. No, they don't have to. They attempt to, and they do it in backdoor kind of ways, but they don't need to make laws affecting that, as long as you control the elements at play. The mainstream legacy media has always been a mouthpiece for the regime and interest in a leftist deep state. They've always been that way. Hollywood has consistently been far left. If anything, McCarthy didn't go far enough. House Un-American Activities Committee didn't go far enough. The Hollywood Blacklist didn't go deep enough. But again, on principle, I cannot support taking away even their freedom of speech. You track in here? As a founding principle of this republic, we can't make rules abridging someone else's free speech, because if you can do it to them today, you can do it to me tomorrow. Khalid Muhammad, guy that I always come back to with stuff like that. Kill every man, woman, and child. Kill every white man, woman, and child in South Africa. Kill the crazy. Kill the faggots. Kill the lesbians. Kill them all. Put them in the ground. And then dig them up and kill them a goddamn again, because they didn't go hard. They didn't die hard enough. I love that. I love that motherfucker. First of all, because you can't buy hatred that pure, but mostly because a person who is allowed to say that, the fact that he can say that without the risk of being locked up, reminds me that we do still live the best of intentions and for all intents and purposes in what is, at least temporarily, still a free society. I love it when leftists spout their bullshit. I love it when the media so transparently magnifies and amplifies that message. Because say it a million times, I'll say it a million more. Fundamentally, people are suckers for the truth. I would never try to deplatform a leftist. I would never tolerate a leftist being deplatformed by the government as a matter of principle. I find them silly, ignorant, detestable, morally bankrupt, ethically reprehensible. Some of the worst, most bitter, petty, childish human beings on the fucking planet. I do not like them, but I would not stand for 2 seconds and watch a government try to actively deplatform them. Here's the kicker about being a principled human being. They will never return the courtesy. I find myself at a point in my life, in a position, intellectually speaking, where I really am at the point where my libertarian impulses are giving way. And I fight it. I'm not cheering that on. My libertarian influence, every way, they're giving way every fucking day to my inner Charles Bronson. I am defending the left, and the first time they get the fucking opportunity, they would have me thrown in a gulag, forcibly silenced. They'd have my fucking tongue cut out if only they could. They are gutless, they're spineless, they're weak. And yet, my absolutism with regard to free speech compels me to continue to defend these fucks. But at some point, principle gives way to self-preservation. I would never work for that company. If it's a choice between working for that company or starving to death, you're probably working for that company. Some of us, if we really are principled, would take option 3. We're going to rob a fucking bank. You know. But you hear me. I know you hear me, and I know you're tracking. Principle does give way to self-preservation. And I fight that urge every day because, as Mussolini said, it should be called corporatism because it's the merger of corporate and government power. What else would you call it when a corporation like News Corp or General Electric, that at least did own NBC and I believe still does, maybe they lost that as part of a merger. General Electric, GE, we bring good things to light. Light bulbs, flash cubes, nuclear weapon guidance systems. They're one of the biggest defense contractors in the world. And we can count on them for honest coverage about, say, the Gulf War. America's military strength. Are you fucking kidding me? Corporatism was universally accepted by most liberals as a bad thing. I remember the 90s. We were berated about it at every step, and quite rightfully so in most cases. But again, this is the left. They have no principles. Ultimately, they want power. Ultimately, they want power at any fucking choice. No one seizes power with the intention of relinquishing it. Now they have it, and they will fight to keep it, including using their media to do what, Mr. Orwell? They tear human minds to pieces and put them together again in new shapes of their own choosing. I continue to stand on principle. I don't want them deplatformed. But at some point, what kind of idiot do I have to be to continue to fight for their right to speak when at every turn and tremble, they are deliberately trying to shut me down? Me and everybody that looks and thinks like I do. I don't know what the answer is to that, and I don't want to go down that hole, but the merger of government and corporate power, what else do you call it? When the government uses corporations to achieve aims that would be outside the boundaries of their constitutionally designated power. What am I talking about? I'm talking about a lot of things. The one thing that's really come out here in the past, pretty much since Elon took over at Twitter. And look, I neither deify nor demonize. Yes, I do. I got a man crush on Elon. So far, he hasn't done anything that has really shaken me off of that. But even if he had, the one thing that I will always fucking respect him for is the fact of blowing the lid off what we knew. You knew it, I knew it. We went on at length about it. Particularly Roman, we went on at length about it. Right, exactly. Thank you. I turn back to the side conversations, and George chimes in just the nick of time. Look what they're doing to Musk, Peterson, and Tate. I wasn't a fan of Tate. I really didn't know that much about the guy. I still could give, I really could give two flying fucks about the guy. But I'm compelled to fucking defend the guy now because I've actually had to do a deep dive. I never really paid attention to him. He never tickled my fancy at all on any level. Besides his fight skills, I mean, he was admirable as a fighter, but besides that, I didn't care. But now that they're trying to bury him, I'm compelled to dig a little bit deeper. What I keep coming back to here, the merger of government and corporate power. What else do you call it? All of the things that we knew. You knew it. I knew it. They lied to our faces. They denied it to our faces. The mainstream legacy media, being a propaganda ministry for the deep state, made fun of us, called us tinfoil hat conspiracy theorists, and now it's all true. All of it. They were shadow banning. I had a guy on the inside at Twitter that worked and knew that yes, the algorithm is geared to downplay conservative. Yes, they shadow ban, and now it's come out that they banned a number of figures at the broad-based request of the FBI, and two journalists specifically at the request of one particular member of the fucking House committee that investigated Russiagate. Adam fucking Schiff, that googly-eyed motherfucker, specifically made a request, and Twitter specifically honored it. This guy is talking about us. We don't want him talking about us, therefore shut him down. At that point, you don't get to hide behind my private company. They're a private company. They can do what they want. Constitutionally, at that point, no. No, they cannot. These files are blown wide the fuck open. That's one of the reasons why they were so terrified about Musk getting his hands on this stuff, because guess what? Their damage control wasn't anywhere near what they had anticipated. And now all of that information is coming out. Matt Taibbi, who was a darling of fucking Rolling Stone. Barry Weiss, who was a darling at the New York fucking Times, are now being labeled. Glenn Greenwald, as leftist as ever there was. Guy that broke the Edward Snowden story. Are being described as hardcore right-wing extremists. Ministers of right-wing talking points. That's what they're saying about these people now. Again, showing that they have no principles. Again, showing that it comes and goes with that. This is where I'm going to bring up the article that that Emmy sent me. Emmy, the original Sinner Sister herself, the birthday girl. Swedish Skeptics Association. Sabaton, you guys know about Sabaton. I joke, but it's basically a thing about Sabaton, and I've also been told that I'm mispronouncing it, but I'm old and I'm set in my ways, so I'm going to keep saying it. Anyway, Sabaton's Public Education Award may be revoked over comments about Crimea. This is how quickly, this further illustrates the point about they have no principles. You think that you have ingratiated yourself with them, and then the minute you step outside the orthodoxy, you get yanked. Sabaton was granted the award in 2022 as Public Educator of the Year. The bassist. Okay, I'm just going to read this verbatim because there's no way to. I'm just going to read this paragraph for you verbatim. According to news outlet Dagens Nyheter, this all started a few days ago when Sabaton's song "Carolus Rex" was removed from a Spotify playlist meant to represent Sweden and Swedish music as the country took over presidency of the European Union. The reason was Sabaton's 2015 performance in the Crimean Peninsula right after Russia, and this is their words, not mine, illegally annexed the area. Dagens Nyheter also points out that the show was organized by the Russian biker gang, the Night Wolves, guys. If you know anything about Russia and Putin, it's the Night Wolves. But that Putin's Hell's Angels, for all intents and purposes, and more power fucking to them. I love the Night Wolves. In any case, they organized the show. The bassist said that they were there to play for fans regardless of where they were, there to spread the music, etc., etc. My quote was how I experienced the situation there and on site and the impressions I took home with me. You hardly feel, this was the quote that got him in trouble. He visited Sevastopol, which is it's a city on the Crimean Peninsula. It's the headquarters of Russia's Black Sea Fleet, for those of you that don't know. You hardly feel that they feel occupied, but you feel quite the opposite. In other words, the bassist is saying that when he was there in Crimea, even though our media was telling us that they were in occupied territory, that Putin had gone in and forced us, that place was 98% ethnic Russian. They were praying for Putin to show up. If Putin has done anything wrong in the Ukraine, it's, in my eyes, it's that he didn't go directly into fucking Donbass in 2014 after he fucking got through taking Crimea. No, they didn't feel like they were occupied. Yes, they wanted to remain part of Russia. Sorry, but these are facts. But because the basis for Sabaton decided that he would say that out loud, how many years ago? 2016? The Public Educator of the Year Award from Sweden, the Swedish Skeptics Association. Oh, the irony of that. What are you skeptical about? Clearly not the official narrative, you fuck. That'll sit right well with you, won't it, Sparky? They're revoking. And again, Sabaton, man, look, in the same way that Rammstein has taught a shitload of people German, Sabaton has taught a fuckload of people important chunks of world history. I'm not exaggerating for effect here, man. They are to history education what Rammstein is to the German language, as far as, like, you know, putting stuff out there that people otherwise would not have been exposed to. And they gave them the award last year, and they found out about this interview from 2016, and they fucking yanked it. Why? The organization's a private company. I'm a private company. They're a private company. They can do what they want. But what are they essentially doing? Unlike Twitter, they're not doing it at the behest and request of the regime's government. But they're still acting as a government actor in steering the narrative towards what the regime approves. You guys tracking? Private companies are no longer private companies when they move to act as government actors. And once we allow those things to cross the line, you have to take into account that everything, literally everything, that comes with living in a free, Western, industrialized nation with a representative government, everything, literally everything, is at stake. I've remained consistent across the board. I felt like corporations had way too much fucking power from way back when, and all of these people who were raging against the machine back in the fucking 90s that are now part of the machine, they're happy as clams because they own the machine now and they're cogs in the fucking wheel. I am still against inordinate flexing of corporate power. They remain against corporate power when the corporation isn't towing the line. Do you understand what it is to be, for your ethics to be principled versus situational? Do you understand? Of course you understand. Larger point that I'm making is this. It's not... Why does YouTube keep turning my phone volume down? It's a conspiracy. Roman, rage for Pfizer. I like it. All you have to do is disagree about one thing and they will try to destroy you. Exactly. Very much like a cult, while pointing at us and calling us a fascist cult. Whataboutism. Larger point is this. They lose the protection. Ideologically and morally, they've already lost the protection in the high ground. In the eyes of any breathing, thinking human being, they've already lost that. Legally, they've lost it once they take it upon themselves to act as state actors. I want you guys to look at the Twitter files. Just Google Twitter files. Go in and read all of the articles that Matt Taibbi has done on this. And then look into the history of Matt Taibbi as a journalist. Product of the left. Look at Barry Weiss. Product of the left. Taibbi came from Rolling Stone. Weiss came from the New York Times. They're being called mouthpieces for the far right now. That's how they get treated. All the while, these companies, and Twitter, we just lucked out. They got caught. Every single tech platform does this, without exception. Oh, you don't know that? Yeah, right. Well, we didn't know that about Twitter, did we? We suggested it. We pointed to all the indications that they were doing it. It was obvious to any thinking human being what was going on. You called us tinfoil hat conspiracy theorists. I'm going to go way out on a fucking limb because those same indicators are there everywhere. Facebook does it. Google does it. Every big tech platform does it. It is narrative control. It is bias against conservatives. Real conservatives. It is bias against anyone who opposes the regime. Adam Schiff, when you get into looking at it, Adam Schiff, googly-eyed, lying fuck, specifically on more than one occasion, called Twitter up, emailed Twitter, thanks Adam, because the internet is forever, emailed guys at Twitter and said, hey, I need this tweet pulled, and they did it. I need this account suspended, and they did it. That is not a private company. That is a corporation acting as a state actor. That is the same as if Biden came on tomorrow and said, it is illegal to voice any opposition to my regime. People would rightfully be terrified. CNN and MSNBC, Joy Reid would be like doing what she could to cover it. That Maddow guy would be fucking masturbating on camera. But most people would bristle because holy shit, the government is censoring people, telling us that we can't talk about this. But when they do it through a private company, the end result is the same. Do you follow me? Don't get caught up in it. Well, but it's only about social media. No, it's not. What was the graphic that I showed you in the opening? It's a meme that I aired right when this cadaver came into power. Let me see if I can find it. Here we go. One of the first things he announced was that he was going to use private firms to spy on extremists, to bypass restrictions on how far the FBI can go in spying on U.S. citizens. And of course, my response, had it occurred to anyone there's a perfectly good goddamn reason why those restrictions exist in the first place? But apparently that was lost on the left because they are the machine now. Here's the thing. That wasn't anything new. That was the first anybody had heard of it. It was a test balloon. Wanted to float that, run it up the flagpole and see who saluted. There's an organization called the Southern Poverty Law Center. You guys already bookmarked the Google Twitter files, right? Because I'm getting ready to close that fucking tab. Look into the Twitter files, Matt Taibbi and Barry Weiss. Before Biden even made that terrifying fucking statement, it wasn't anything new to people like myself who've been paying attention. There's an organization called the Southern Poverty Law Center. You go to their website right now. You look up Southern Poverty Law Center. And what are the first things? Hate and extremism, January 6th. Hate and extremism, January 6th. Rosewood remembered. Dangerous devotion. Here's a talking point for you. Dangerous devotion. Congressional hearing examines the threat of white Christian nationalism. There's that Christian nationalism that nobody had heard of until the Fear Patrol made it up. And what do we know about fear? Come on, guys. What do we know about fear? Fear is a liar. But now there's Christian nationalists and we're all gonna die. Anyway. They have been doing work for the Federal Bureau of Investigation at government behest for decades. They have been infiltrating so-called extremist groups and helping to get FBI informants inside there where they set these people up, as they did with the Hutari militia, as they did with the fake plot to kidnap Gretchen Whitmer, all of these things. It is a private company. Go into some of the things that go on behind the scenes at that private company. Now that it's just Potok. Morris Dees was still there. A little grab and grope there, Morris. But every time Morris Dees or Mark Potok show up on one of these talking shows, again, they are enabled by a complicit propaganda ministry. This is Mark Potok. He is an expert on violent extremism. No, this is Mark Potok. He is a shill whose very financial existence depends on you believing that there are Nazis under every bed. Specificity counts. They will sell you the fear. What is at stake? Well, everything. Because when you allow private companies to act as de facto extensions of the government, there's literally no end to it. SPLC doing what the FBI cannot constitutionally do, so they ask a private company to do it. Twitter, Facebook, Google censoring things that it would be unconstitutional for the president to ask for, but they do it. Yes, but there's a stopping point for all of it. Is there? What did we discuss in the opener? This, boys and girls, is not what it appears to be, a short-barreled rifle. And guys, look, I have to listen. In the interest of my own integrity, I got to hit my gun people here. You guys know that I am a Second Amendment absolutist. 100% a Second Amendment absolutist. There should be no regulation on these firearms in the first fucking place. None. Having said that, you guys can be outraged and you should be outraged, but please don't act fucking surprised. Anybody who bought a pistol with a shoulder brace, did I say shoulder brace? Because I meant wrist stabilizer. Anybody who bought one of these pistols with a wrist brace, I have advised them against it, and if they went ahead and did it anyway, I have given them a certain measure of shit for it. Why? Because you knew what you were fucking doing. You knew what you were doing. You didn't want to pay the $200 tax stamp. And no, the $200 tax stamp shouldn't exist. You didn't want to pay the $200 tax stamp for an SBR. You didn't want to go through the permitting process. So you said, oh, look, the government's nice enough to let me have a pistol with this wrist brace on it. And, oh, now, look, I've got a short-barreled rifle. You knew exactly what you were fucking doing. And you should have known exactly what they were doing. Having said that, is it still shitty? It is absolutely shitty. Why? Well, first of all, because it's unconstitutional in the first place. But second of all, the way that they went about it. We're not coming after your pistols with your wrist braces. It was just a couple of years ago that the ATF put out a memo because everybody was asking them, what about these pistols with the wrist braces? Oh, no, they're fine. They're just pistols, like any other pistol. They've just got a stabilizer brace on it. Okay, but what if I have one and I take that wrist stabilizer brace and I put it up to my shoulder like it was a short-barreled rifle or something? Does it become illegal then? And the ATF very specifically said, no, it does not. It's like any other pistol. Don't worry about it. Silly gun owner, we're never coming after those guns. Literally this week, they came down and they just went, we thought about it, we changed our mind, and now they're all illegal. There are literally millions of these in circulation. Millions of gun owners own these useless, ridiculous, pointless fucking toys. Sorry, but there it is. They own these. And now every one of them, if they don't register or dispose of that firearm within 120 days, is going to become a felon under federal law. Are there going to be legal challenges? Absolutely. With a largely Trump-supported Judiciary, do we have a chance at beating this? Yes, I believe that we do. But the point is this: you had to have known it was coming. We're never going to do that. We're certainly never going to come after that. I don't know, you crazy tinfoil hat conspiracy theorists. You get it in your heads that we're coming after gas stoves. And by the way, that's a very funny meme. But let's get into the reality of it. The pistol brace rule. JusticeDepartment.gov. Justice.gov. That's where you go to find out. Just look up pistol brace rule. You can see what the rule was and what it changed. Okay. ATF, Free Range American fucking did an article on it. Fox News covered it. CNN covered it. You can expect how that broke it down. But gun owners have 120 days to act on new gun stabilizing brace restrictions. DOJ, ATF. Who runs the DOJ? Merrick Garland. What is Merrick Garland? Thank you. That's the rule that came down. Why would you think, oh my God, that's so ridiculous that you think they would come after pistols with fucking wrist braces? They came out and said that they weren't coming after it. My God, what is wrong with you? You're so paranoid. Where are we? So what are they talking about this? What are they talking about this week? Gas stoves. Gas stoves. Gas stoves. I'm going to tell you something. I'm working on a project right now. However long I'll be here remains to be seen, but I'm working on a project right now that harnesses methane bled off of cattle waste to produce natural gas. Environmentally sound. But now they're literally talking about, and they said it point blank, that they were contemplating a ban on gas stoves. EPA came out and said it. We pointed it out, and then immediately they switched gears and went into, and again, I can't make this up, the irony is delicious, gaslighting. We never said that. Good Lord, what the hell is wrong with you? We never said that. Yes, it's right there that they did. But now they're in backpedal mode because they call it the outrage. Time magazine, how gas stoves became a right-wing cause in the culture wars. LA Times editorial, no, the feds aren't coming for your gas stove, but these appliances still need to go. That sound vaguely familiar? No, they're not coming for your pistols with a wrist brace, but they should ban them. This is why. When the press, as a private company, starts behaving as a government actor, we need you to paint this picture because the president and the regime need you to paint this picture. Yes, boss, I be narrative weaving. Want I should shuffle and coon for you a little bit? They are no longer my private company. They certainly are no longer free and independent businesses or corporations. And they haven't been for a very long time. At the end of the day, coming back to my man Benito, fascism should rightly be called corporatism as it is the merger of corporate and government power. Never has this phenomenon been more evident and more potentially damaging. Act accordingly. Don't get down about it. Act. Figure out what you have to do to navigate around it or take a stand against it if it comes to that. We all have our lines in the sand. But ultimately, it's got to be us. I'm going to drop a couple of quick things on you before we get out of here tonight. And again, I appreciate you guys being here. Some things... because people had asked. This is with regard to, first of all, training. Some guys had asked me some things about training. A lot of people have very limited time. A lot of people don't have a lot of room, a lot of implements. They got a couple of things. They got a bench press. They got a row machine, maybe. You guys know where I'm going with a single implement. It's going to be the kettlebell. For those of you guys who are doing gym and barbell work, that are looking for muscle hypertrophy, I want you to get on board with Josh Bryant and Jailhouse Strong. This is your search term for YouTube, Jailhouse Strong 30 Minute. Okay? You are going to be working with lightweight. You're going to be working with super lightweight. But you're going to be working time under tension. All of those principles particularly time under tension. You're going to be able to get a lot more done in a lot shorter period of time. So please, I want you to check that out on YouTube. That is going to be Josh Bryant and Jailhouse Strong. Your search term is going to be Jailhouse Strong 30-minute, and they will have a 30-minute shoulder annihilation. They will have a 30-minute chest annihilation. Guys, I have incorporated this very much into my training regimen. Even though I'm still very Jeet Kune Do about it, I still do a bit of Dorian Yates. I do the drop set. I do the Mike Mincer thing. But it is something that will jumpstart your fucking muscles, that will build some strength and some power and some endurance very, very quickly. And again, most of the cluster sets that they're doing, what am I always saying? Train like you fight, right? When have you ever been in a fight where you needed to bicep curl someone? Probably not, right? When have you ever been in a fight where you needed to push someone 12 times and then rest for 2 minutes? That probably hadn't happened to you either, has it? The cluster sets are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 intense reps, 15-second rest, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 intense set, 15 seconds rest for 5 straight minutes. Which do you think is going to be more conducive to gearing your physicality towards an actual physical violent encounter? Look into it. Josh Bryant, Jailhouse Strong, 30-minute. I want you guys to look into that. Some guys had asked me some things about supplements. I still have a couple of cans of this laying around because I got it on special. You want to do a good multivitamin. And when I say multivitamin, dude, the Walmart brand, just as good as anything else. As far as anybody knows, take a multivitamin and take a heavy C supplement every day. If you are looking to build muscle and you're looking to build strength, the supplements that you want to take, creatine, good, not absolutely necessary, but good. Big fan of creatine. You have to have a good branched chain amino acid supplement, and you have to double down on L-arginine. Keep in mind, like L-arginine, the way to remember it is that the first several letters almost spell large. Right. L-arginine. You want to have a good branched chain amino acid supplement. The two, and this is the one that I lean on, I do use some of the Mutant Gear BCAAs. BodyTech Critical Aminos XT is my go-to. And I've had really good results with that. But take a look if you can see. I can get it around to, here we go, there we go. Sweet tea flavor. Just like over here in my Mutant Gear, sweet iced tea flavor. You can see it down at the bottom. Why do I get the sweet iced tea? Because it works well with you remember my caffeinated lemonade packages. Yeah. Southern sweet iced tea flavor doesn't taste exactly like Southern sweet tea or tea at all, really. This one does. This one comes a lot closer to Mutant Gear. Sorry, guys, but there it is. Both are acceptable. You can throw my little caffeinated lemonade packages into there and shake, shake, shake. I hit the gym earlier today, and I've got my BCAAs, and I've got my caffeine, and I've also got my arginine. Again, fan of creatine, not absolutely necessary, but this Genius Products, L-arginine. Really good L-arginine supplement. If you look really close there, you will see natural lemon flavor, which also works with my caffeinated Arnold Palmer vibe. Damn good supplement. Well worth looking into. Did I just... Wow, my camera is going out of focus. That's interesting. Strange. See something here. Hang on. All right. Let's see if that's any better. Okay, a little bit. Cool, work with it. All right, good. Guess I must have fogged that up a little bit. So those are the supplements. Branched chain amino acid supplement, L-arginine supplement. Of course, my caffeinated lemonade, which I've already gone on about at length. And finally, last but certainly not least, see if I can get in close and get a detail on that bottle. Probably not. That might have been what threw everything out of focus, was I was doing too many close-ups. This is BPC 157. BPC 157, and this happens to be injectable BPC. You will do your own homework on this, people. I need to say this at the outset. I am not a medical doctor. I am not a nutritionist. I'm just a regular guy. What I'm telling you is not medical advice. I'm telling you what works for me. And you know my overwhelming modality is always do your own fucking homework on this stuff. But this is something that you need to have. You need to start taking better care of your body, says this guy. And I'm doing my best. You guys, after my little scare with the infection with the hip, one of the things that my beloved wife imparted to me is that bacterial infections love sugar. You're saying this to this guy. I have pivoted damn near 180 degrees on my sugar intake. Cut it back. Fucking unbelievable. You wouldn't believe it. You guys wouldn't fucking believe it. I mean, you know what? I'm going to tell you how fucked up things are. I'm going to reach right over here. You guys know that I live on the road, right? I want you to take a look at this. I'm reaching over into the fridge. Do you see this? Do you see that? Oh my God. Holy fuck. What is that? Is that a salad? Well, kinda. It's a Bart salad. It's a bed of spinach, chicken breast, bacon bits, croutons, some zesty Roma dressing. Not exactly a salad by any, fruit bat vegetarian standard. But I'm trying, man. I try to kick, man. This shit just be calling me, man. Be calling me. I'm sorry, fucking New Jack City moment. We all got to start doing better. And I don't exempt myself from that process. We got tough times ahead, people. We're already settling into it. You know what I saw today when I was at Winco? A de facto rationing of eggs and milk now. Milk. Here's a little point to ponder. You guys might not have thought of. Actually, you're my friends. You probably thought of it. All these shortages, all this bird flu. It's bird flu that's creating all these issues. Same bird flu hasn't affected chicken prices, but it's affecting egg prices. Okay, sure, we can buy that. All of these fucking foods are suddenly being rationed. They're harder to get to, and all these things. Again, you wonder if that had anything to do with all those food processing centers blowing the fuck up over the course of the last couple of years. Everybody just forget about that all of a sudden? Worth looking into. Doesn't matter. This little bottle, I'm going to tell you why, and I'm going to expect you to do your own homework. BPC 157. It is a peptide. It is fucking amazing. It works directly with your body to rejuvenate joints, connective tissues, muscle tissue. It's done wonders for my hip and my knees. You can get it injectable or you can get it nasal spray. Those of you guys who are uncomfortable with needles, don't want to go through the trouble, bacteriostatic water. Here's the thing, guys. All of this is online. Do your own homework. I'm throwing it out because some guys have asked. All right? Gorilla Healing, Wolverine, nasal spray. If you're looking for a place to do this and you don't want to get into having to set up your own injections and things like that, Gorilla Healing, Wolverine, it's a nasal spray. Trust me. It will make a difference like night and day right out of the starting gate. That's where I started with BPC 157. And I did homework for years. I had everybody telling me to get on it. And I didn't. And I was like, fine, fuck it, I'll try this nasal spray. Shit's damn near miraculous. Look into it. Again, it's BPC 157. Gorilla Healing Wolverine. If you want to get the injectable stuff, you can get it from Gorilla Healing. You can also get it from Pinned Aminos. My arginine, yeah, and dude, a lot of this stuff from Pinned Aminos, I've used a number of their products. It's not steroids, it's just aminos, specific purpose-driven amino acids. Get in, do it. Look into it, do your own homework. The arginine coming from Genius Supplements. The BCAA powder coming from Body Tech, Critical Amino Sweet Tea. You can go back and review all of this stuff. That's why I'm posting these links. And that's that, BPC 157. Why all this advice on training and everything? Because I'm going to leave you on an uplifting note, man. Crunch is on. The Pollyannas and the Grazers have no idea how bad this thing is going to get. I probably don't even know how bad this thing is going to fucking get. But the only effect that we have on it, literally the only effect. A lot of people talk a lot of noise. I have a very good friend, and he's right when he said, ain't nothing changing until they start dragging these guys out of office and shooting them in the head. That's what our friend says. He's right. But who's going to step up? You got a kid to feed, man. So what effect do we have really? He's absolutely correct in the sentiment. But what do we have really? Claire Wolfe, 101 Things to Do Until the Revolution. You guys ever read that? You should. It's out of print now. You have a hard time finding a copy. You can find it online. She got a follow-up to that called Don't Shoot the Bastards Yet. And the quote from that is, we are at that awkward point in history where it is too late to work within the system, but too early to start shooting the bastards. And she is absolutely correct. So unless you want to step up, put your head out on that chopping block. And eventually some of us have to. And when the time comes, none of us will hesitate to do that. In the meantime, we're here in the real world. You have a kid to feed. We do what we can to make ourselves stronger, because we know that whether it does come by way of violence or whether it does come by upheaval caused by economic collapse, that no matter what, it's going to have to get really, really bad. Yep, there you go. Most lettuce is a waste. Spinach is a way to diagnose pre-diabetic. Cut back on DP as well. Yes, good. Milk has been in short supply down here at Wally World for months. Yep. George, you do the nasal spray? Fucking fantastic. I'm glad to hear that. What are we doing? What are we doing? We're getting strong. Because we know what's coming down the pike. From the Quotable Bart, Volume 1. We are in a perpetual race between enlightenment and catastrophe. It may take catastrophe to lead us to enlightenment. We are on the brink of that catastrophe. It's a slow creeping catastrophe. I'd rather it just get dumped in our lap. But because of the nature of incrementalism, it's a long, slow, drawn-out process. Do what you can, stay moving forward, but the main thing that we have control over is ourselves. So that no matter what the world decides to do, when that catastrophe unleashes itself on us, we're in the best possible position. And if it is going to take for the cleansing to finally be unleashed, if it is going to take a catastrophe to lead us to enlightenment, may it come quickly. And may we all find ourselves ready for it. When the skies part and that light descends, when the earth opens up, belches fire, no matter how it comes. May it find us in the best position of preparation for it, and may it come quickly, so that we can put the process behind us and get on with rebuilding. Because I believe it in my heart of hearts, there's a light on the other side of this darkness. If you have any doubts about that, you should probably take a good look in the mirror and see which part you represent. If you find yourself wanting, take the steps to correct it. Going forward, we're going to need every hand we can get. I am the Reverend. That is the gospel. Appreciate you guys being here. Thanks for showing up yet again on a Sunday. hanging out with me to the late hours. I appreciate it, man. Hopefully, some of these things, took you out of your comfort zone a little bit, get you thinking in a different direction. Hopefully, some of the supplement advice, some of the training advice. Dude, I got plenty more. You just got to hit me up. When I get messages during the week, I'll try to address something on the sermon, man. Again, I'm trying to take it in a different direction. Yes, some fucking dark shit on us. I'm not going to ignore it. I'm not going to act like that shit doesn't exist. But there are ways to make it better for yourself because you have so damn little control of what you have on that grand fucking picture. It's like a pinball machine, man. All you've got is two little flippers and a little body English. It's literally the amount of control that you got. But once you walk away from that pinball machine, you're the guy that controls yourself. So let's make ourselves the best we can be, man. Let's get strong. Let's fucking get our heads right. Let's get our minds right, our souls right, and our bodies right. Because going forward, man, if we ain't squared away, the stakes are pretty fucking high. I know you guys feel me. Anyway, hopefully you guys, hopefully I gave you something to work with this week. If you guys, I'm going to pass that digital collection plate around. You guys want to throw me a little bit of coin? I'm on PayPal. I'm on Cash App. I'm on Venmo. I'm on Facebook Pay. I'm on all that shit. So you guys feel free, if you want to kick me a little coin, that would be fantastic. In the meantime, between time, it's a labor of love. It's kind of my way of living up to what I'm telling us every week, man. We got to take care of ourselves and we got to take care of each other going forward. Got no room for people who are not of like mind anymore. Disengage with these people, no matter how much you think they have meant to you before. Because not only are they not going to stand with you, they're going to be the ones to fucking turn you over to the Stasi. Don't think it can happen? Study your history, man. Not trying to be black-pilled about it. Focus on what you can. Let's start looking out for each other, man. Building just a solid network of like-minded individuals. Nothing can stop an idea whose time has come. This is our time. It's our time to step up. Tipping point's already been reached. It's already been achieved, man. Where we go from here, it's on us. Us collectively and us, every single one of us as individuals. Never lose sight of that. In any case, man, if you can't kick me any coin, I get it. We're in a Biden economy. I totally get that. Not everybody's doing too well. Here's something else you can do for me, though, man. Tell a friend about the program. Next time you show up for church, bring a friend. If you're on Twitter, you're on Facebook, you're on any of those fucking platforms, people that aren't aware of it, just tell them, hey, man, it's a fat, toothless, crippled motherfucker, crane operator with some opinions. He gets on the rants and raves for an hour or two every Sunday. Like mind and a kindred spirit, you might get something out of it. It's worth checking out. All my reverends, rangers, my prophets of doom, my sinner sisters out there, appreciate you, man. Don't ever forget, going forward, you guys already know, live the three, as Stone is fond of saying, and I think that's a quotable moment. Thank you for that, Stone. Live the three prime directives, man. They will try to confuse you with the noise. They will try to smother your critical thought with the noise because the signal-to-noise ratio is all fucked up. You've got to be that signal that breaks through the noise. They'll try to bury you with the darkness, convince you that there is no more light in the world, man. They'll emasculate you. They'll dehumanize you, demoralize you. You've got to be that light that breaks through the darkness. But first and foremost, the prime directive, the iron rule, you have got to be that strength in a world full of weakness. You got to be that strength that throws the weakness into contrast. You have got to be the strength that breaks through and crushes the weakness, because without the strength, you won't be able to be the signal that gets through the noise. You won't be able to be the light in the darkness. You got to be the strength that crushes the weakness. Above and beyond everything else, it's the iron rule, the prime directive. I love you guys. Hopefully you'll be around next Sunday, roughly the same time. Hopefully the week goes well for you. Look out for yourselves. Take care of each other. Stay strong. We're going to get through this, y'all. We're going to win. Love y'all, man. Peace. My heart, people. Love y'all, man. Take care. See you next Sunday.